next business bit.
Mm-hmm.
You must, before you pursue anything, even if you're skilled, you're passionate about it, do your research.
Yeah.
Does my skill and my passion, does it meet a need? Does it fill a void?
Yeah.
Do people really need this? Is this a viable product or a viable service
Yeah.
before you get into it? And like you stated, you must have the heart and the mind of a service, of a servant. I'm sorry, and that means you're going to provide a service. If you're going to be great, you have to serve. It's all about the customers. It's all about the fans because without them, you don't exist.
You
Your
don't,
business
exactly.
doesn't exist.
And,
And like, go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
mean, do you think that's a problem within the Western Hemisphere is that we're so
Yes.
used to being served by others that when
Sure.
it comes to being in business ourselves, it's a kind of a schizophrenic mentality where they want to be in business but they don't want to serve. And I'm thinking, I speak to people, I think you can't do that. You can't be in business without service. It's impossible.
Yeah, it's actually hypocrisy. That's what it is.
Yeah.
It's hypocrisy. As you stated, we want to be served. We want everyone to wait on us. But then when we get into business, we transform and we take that same mind frame.
Mm,
And that's why a lot of businesses don't make it very long because, you have to have, of course, the mind of the employer,
yeah.
which is the creative side. You have to have the foresight, the insight, but at the same time, you have to have the heart of an employee. You
Yeah.
still have to serve. Yes,
Yeah.
it's important to have the mind of a leader, but you have to have the heart and the compassion and the drive and the service and the humility
Yeah.
of an employee or a follower. And
Exactly.
that's where people miss it. They want to be masters and not servants. They
Yes.
want to be
Yes.
just employers but not employees. And you have to have that balance because if not, your business is going to fail. Because at the end of the day, you are the head of the business.
Hmm.
So the success or failure depends on the head. It amazes me in leadership when things are going bad, it's all about the ship. But
Yeah.
when things are going well, it's all about the leader.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
good or bad, it's the leaders, not the ship. It's the leader.
Exactly.
So it's the head. He takes the brunt, of the good or the bad. But that's what happens. Oftentimes, people want to shirk the responsibility on the board, on employees, and
Yeah.
as a leader, you chose those people, you chose those employees,
Exactly.
you chose that board, and so ultimately, the buck stops with
You.
the head,
Exactly.
the person who's the leader. So
I mean, because again, because you wear many hats. Is there a difference between like the obviously that you wear hats in different sectors? Can you speak to that in terms of how people and how you have to apply yourself in those particular arenas?
well, each arena, I guess, business itself has principles that are actually universal,
Okay.
and meaning like okay, hard work, diligence, paying attention to details, being able to follow instructions, having good communication skills, good people skills. All of these are needed regardless of what arena you operate in. And so I'm able to transfer those traits across the board, being able to be diligent, being able to communicate, because with the music and of course with this, I have to do a lot of marketing and promoting. I have to have good people skills.
Mm.
I have to be organized. And it's the same thing in the janitorial because I mostly do all of my books. I do the taxes.
Okay.
I do all of that. And so I just transfer these skills into each arena that I operate in because these skills are necessary. I mean, they're just, I guess, common skills that will help you to be successful and common principles that will help you to be successful if applied in any business arena. And there are just some things that you just can't get around. You can't get around hard work, regardless of
Yeah.
where you are. And as you were stating earlier, that's the problem. We have a generation of people who don't want to work hard. They want the results of hard work, but they
Mm.
don't want to put in the effort to ensure that those results come forth.
Mm. And that's why I speak to a lot of guys and girls my age, and
Yes.
younger, and that's it's like they just want this. They want to leapfrog that process and just
Yes.
get to the end. And you think that you really, and you try and lay down, it takes a step at a time. They want to be the Facebook, they want to be the Twitter, they want to say, oh, I want to create something and become rich like next week. I'm like,
Yeah.
it doesn't work that way. You may get lucky, but still, there are probably things that they haven't told you, what they get on with behind closed doors in Facebook and Twitter. But
Yes.
it still takes hard work to run these big corporations. I mean, these are big corporations you're talking about. So,
Yeah.
only, the above knows what's going on there. But
Oh yeah.
to get there without the process, it's like you're trying to become a top class pianist without going through any lessons whatsoever. And that's just
That's
totally
it.
crazy. That's just totally
Yeah.
crazy. Go on.
That's the type of society that we live in, as they call it, the microwave society. And they just want to get there overnight, but there are so many dangers with that.
Mm,
It's through the process that we're developed, that we're matured,
yeah.
and that we're prepared for the top. You want to start at the bottom and work your way up so
Exactly.
that you get to learn all of the experiences, the challenges, and the lessons that God has prepared for you. When you bypass all of that and you get to the top, those people who do that, they lack humility, they lack people skills, they really lack the things I mentioned that you need in order to succeed in
But
business.
this is
That's what happens.
and also to acquire wealth because I always hear statistics like I can't quote you the numbers off the top of my head, but a lot of lottery winners they lose the money within under 3 years. I'm like, how do you
Yeah,
do that?
ex-
And it's,
exactly.
mm,
See, when you have to suffer, when you have to do without, you are forced to learn how to budget. You are forced to learn how to live within your means. You're forced to learn how to do without.
mm,
But if you have that instant success, you're used to gratifying. It's like you're a spoiled brat.
yeah,
And so
yeah,
everything you want, you just get it. Oh, I'm going to buy that. I'm
yeah.
going to buy this.
Uh,
And the next thing you know, all the money is spent.
yeah.
Like you said,
That's
within
one
a
thing.
few
I
years.
don't know because if I ever won, let's say the lottery, whatever, that would be drip fed. I'm not. I am not. I can't sit there and think, well, I'm gonna spend 10 grand a day. That's just
Yeah,
on what? Exactly.
I'm
I don't
telling you.
know. That's why I look at. I think that they must get those statistics wrong. No one can lose that money in 3 years, but they do, and it's
It
it's because they
happens.
haven't got the grounding of a wealth mindset where like you said, you've gone through the whole process, so you have more of an appreciation of what you've earned, what you've built. So you're not gonna just crash it down in any seconds, anytime soon. You're gonna kind of flourish it and make it nourish in its own right, before you even begin to spend anything really.
And I mean, actually, there's a famous story in the Bible. I know you've heard of it, the prodigal son,
Yeah,
where
yeah.
people talk about it. And the younger guy, young, he was ready to go out and go. He wanted to go live it up. And so he went and he got the goods from the father. And it talks about how he wasted it with riotous living. He just went, spent it, like you say, the 10 grand a day. Hey, he was here, he was there. He just spent it all up, and he ends up in a hog pen. Then he comes to the realization, hey, I was better in my father's house. The father's servants are living better than me.
Yeah.
So he wised up and went home. And in that story, the whole point really was that, he was entitled to that inheritance, but it was at the death and a time appointed by the father.
Mm,
But he wanted it prematurely. And that story is really to teach us about success and about the process and at the appropriate time being mature to handle it. That's what happened. He wasn't ready. He
yeah.
took it prematurely, and we see the end. He wasted it. He just didn't know what to do. He was out of control. But it's through that processing, had he waited until the appointed time where the father could have instilled in him the value of money, how to budget, how to stay within your means, then he could have not only maintained and sustained his wealth, he could have built it.
Mm,
And that's what so many people are doing. They're these get rich quick schemes,
yes.
and before the people know it, as fast as it comes in, it goes out
Goes
even
out.
quicker.
Exactly.
And so,
Because there's
yeah,
no structure. There's no
yeah,
fundamentals put in place, grounding to say, now I've got this. Now I can utilize it. Like you said, you went out and your first year with your music and stuff. Am I right? And then you you pivoted and started your janitorial service to get some cash flow. Now, most people, they wouldn't have done that. They would have just, went with what their passion was and just completely just rammed it right into the ground. But you pivoted and made sure that you had cash flow coming in, so you can then reinvest that money back into your passion. You know,
Yes,
which is
exactly.
that takes a lot of character, but you had the grounding, and that's something for my audience to take away. If you do something, you have a business, you see where it's going, and you can clearly see it's going to nosedive into the floor.
Yes,
Pivot, change, find something else. Utilize whatever it is that you can at that moment, but make sure you can turn to something else. With good research, and find the problem that needs to be solved. And
yes,
you can survive. I see so many businesses do that. They seem to think that they're only one entity. I'm like,
yes.
no, you're not. What other skills?
Yeah.
Like you said, you do a gift kind of what do you call it? A gift.
Survey, a gift survey.
Exactly.
Yes,
So I don't do say so. I just kind of just talk to them and say, what else can you do? I mean, you're not a one-dimensional being. You've
yes,
got character.
yeah,
You've got,
yeah,
you've got all these things, and like, what can you tap into that comes easy? And some of them, they
yes,
do think about it and they you know, go with that and monetize it.
yes,
Others, they just think they back off and go, oh no, no one would want that, or I do see a particular problem, but I don't know if I'm big enough to handle it, and they just go by the wayside, and they do the most dangerous thing, which is to simply quit. And
yes.
it's so sad. It's so sad, but
Oh yeah,
that's what
it,
happens.
it does. But yeah, like you said, as an entrepreneur, man, I guess one strong character trait or one necessary trait is that creativity and
Yeah.
the flexibility
Mm.
not to get stuck into the in a rut.
Yeah.
And because sometimes things don't go the way you think they should,
Yeah.
and there's always an escape route.
Exactly.
Another, like you said, a pivot, another direction you could go in so that you can, stay alive, survive, and do what you need to do.
Mm.
And so you don't want to just get stuck knowing that, okay, this is not taking me where I need to go or where I'm desiring to go, and things aren't going the way I should. But still, being able to remain an entrepreneur, because one of the greatest assets of an entrepreneur or the business ownership is, first of all, it's job security.
Yeah.
If the way corporations are going, or the financial system is, the only way you're going to really secure yourself and make sure you have a job is to do your own thing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
go ahead, go
No,
ahead.
you have to. You're right, because in a way, I don't have all the historical data. I mean, by no means I'm a historian, but
Yes,
I remember that before big corporations, people used to be entrepreneurial anyway. It was like
yeah,
people were farming. If they weren't farming, they were a cobbler. If they were a seamstress, they were a tailor. I
yeah,
know this was life before technology, but
yes,
the entrepreneurial spirit was there. And I mean,
yeah.
now lately, people just somehow they just convinced that it was just you just grew up into a society where big business is the only way to earn a living, and that's just simply not the case.
Yeah. Well, statistically speaking, I'll give you some statistics. I had attended a seminar, and the guy told us this. He said when America was first started, he said 90% of businesses were, entrepreneurs, and
Mhm.
10% of the people were the employees.
Wow.
He said, but you fast forward to today, and now 10% of the people are the business owners and 90% are the
It's
employees.
a complete switch.
Complete switch, like you said. And what happens though, I'm telling you, it's systematic. The
Mm.
system has created a way where it indoctrinates people and it puts fear in them about business.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
this works to the advantage of the system as well as the advantage of huge corporations.
Mm.
Because most of the time, people have a negative connotation about business.
Yes.
They think it's so complex, it's so hard. Oh my God, the books. And then they always hear about the IRS coming and
Yeah.
levying your accounts and taking your assets.
Yeah.
And so this paints a very scary picture about
Very-
business.
And they
And
and they all
yeah, go ahead.
hear about the really bad failures.
Yes,
You
they're
know, the
really
really dope
bad.
ones.
The bankruptcy and all of that stuff.
Uh,
And so, okay, if I'm feeding you all of this, So of course it's like, no, the safest thing to do, I'm going to get a job. And of course, oh, they're giving me a job with benefits. And
Exactly.
I mean, you look at the benefits, you pay more for the benefits than anything.
Whoop.
And it's like, wow,